You are not here by accident. Out of every video you could have clicked on today, out of every distraction available to you in this exact moment, something brought you here. And I think you already know what it was. Maybe things have been hard for a while. Maybe hard is an understatement. Maybe you are sitting somewhere right now, in a room, in a car, in a place that feels very far from where you thought you would be at this point in your life. And you are wondering if it is ever going to get better. I want to talk to you, directly. Not in the motivational, poster on the wall kind of way. Not with empty reassurances designed to make you feel okay for 12 minutes before the weight comes back. I want to talk to you honestly, about the place you are in, about what it actually means, and about why, as strange as this is going to sound at first, it might be one of the most important places you have ever been. Because here is what I have come to believe. After watching people fall and watching people rise, after studying the stories of the people who came back from places that should not have had a way back, rock bottom is not the end of the story. It is, almost always, where the story actually begins. What rock bottom actually feels like. Before we talk about what rock bottom gives you, I think we need to be honest about what it takes from you. Because I am not here to minimize it. I am not here to tell you that it is not that bad, or that you should look on the bright side, or that everything happens for a reason. Rock bottom is heavy. It is the 3 a.m. that comes 3 nights in a row. It is the feeling of looking at your life and not recognizing it. It is the gap between where you are and where you thought you would be, and the exhausting daily work of carrying that gap around everywhere you go. It is the kind of tired that sleep does not fix, the kind of alone that a crowded room cannot touch, the kind of doubt that is not about a decision or a direction, but about yourself, about whether you are the kind of person who is capable of more than this, about whether more is even still available to you. That is what rock bottom feels like from the inside. And if any part of that just describes something you recognize, then I want you to hear the next part very carefully. What you are feeling is real. The weight is real. The exhaustion is real. And none of that is evidence that you are broken or weak or that the story is over. It is evidence that you care deeply about your life. And people who care deeply, who feel the gap between where they are and where they want to be with that kind of intensity, those are exactly the people who tend to find a way through. The hidden architecture of a turning point. Here is something that almost nobody tells you about rock bottom. It has a structure. Not a comfortable one, not an obvious one, but a structure. And when you understand what it actually is, the experience of being in it starts to look different. Rock bottom is, at its core, a moment of radical clarity. Think about what gets stripped away when everything falls apart. The comfortable fictions go first. The stories you told yourself about how things were going, that you were fine, that it would sort itself out, that you just needed a little more time, those stop working. The distractions that were keeping you busy enough to not look directly at the problem, they stop being enough. And what remains, once all of that is gone, is the truth. Not a comfortable truth. Not a packaged truth. Just the real thing, sitting there, refusing to be managed anymore. And the strange gift inside that moment, the thing nobody warns you is coming, is that truth. However painful, is the only thing you can actually build on. You cannot build a solid life on a comfortable fiction. You can build the appearance of one for a while, but eventually the architecture gives, and when it does, the collapse brings you down to the one material that is actually load-bearing. What is true? That is what rock bottom gives you. Not immediately, not painlessly, but with a consistency that, once you understand it, starts to feel less like destruction and more like preparation. The people who came back. I want to tell you about some people, not to motivate you with highlight reels, not to use their success as a way of implying you should be doing better, but because sometimes, when you are in the dark, it helps to know that people have been in the dark before and found their way out, from places further down than where you are sitting right now. J.K. Rowling, before the books, before the films, before the name became something that every child in 30 languages recognized. She was a single mother, recently divorced, living on welfare, clinically depressed, with a manuscript that had already been rejected by 12 different publishers. She later said, in a commencement address at Harvard, that period felt like a total failure, that she had failed on an almost epic scale. She also said something else. She said that rock bottom became the solid foundation on which she rebuilt her life, not the success. The failure, the rock bottom, that was the foundation. Howard Schultz, the man behind Starbucks, was raised in a housing project in Brooklyn. He has spoken openly about the poverty of his childhood, the fear it created, the way it drove him. The company he eventually built was rejected by 242 investors before he got his first yes. 242 no's. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job. She was told she was unfit for television, that she was too emotionally invested, too much. Steve Jobs was removed from Apple, the company he had founded, at the age of 30, pushed out by the board he had helped to build. He later described that period as one of the most painful things he had ever experienced. He also described it as the thing that freed him, that forced him to start over, start fresh, start with the kind of beginner's mind that the comfort of early success had slowly taken from him. Do you see the pattern? These are not stories about people who succeeded despite their rock bottoms. They are stories about people whose rock bottoms were, in some fundamental way, responsible for what came after. The failure was not the detour away from the path. The failure was the path. Why the fall changes you. Let me explain why this happens. Because I think it matters to understand the mechanism, not just the outcome. When life is going reasonably well, we operate on autopilot. We follow the habits we have built, the patterns that have worked well enough, the grooves that have been worn by repetition. And that is efficient. It conserves energy. It gets us through the day, but it also keeps us in the same place. Because the patterns that got you here will not on their own get you somewhere different. The habits that are comfortable are often exactly the habits that are keeping the ceiling where it is. Rock bottom does something violent to that autopilot. It shuts it off, not gently, not incrementally. It kicks the whole system offline, and in the silence that follows, in the disorientation of having nothing work the way it used to, something becomes possible that was not possible before. Choice. Real choice. Not the kind of choice you make inside a comfortable life, where you're choosing between variations on the familiar, but genuine fundamental choice about who you are, about what you actually want, about which parts of your old life you want to rebuild, and which ones you now understand, with the uncomfortable clarity of hindsight, were never serving you at all. Research in psychology supports this. The phenomenon called post-traumatic growth, documented extensively by psychologists, Richard Tedeschi and Lawrence Calhoun, shows that a significant number of people who go through extreme adversity report not just recovery, but genuine growth beyond their previous baseline. Not despite the adversity, because of it. They develop stronger relationships, a greater sense of personal strength, new possibilities they would never have considered before the fall, a deeper appreciation for life that the comfortable version of their existence never produced. The struggle did not just teach them to survive. It taught them things about themselves and about life that the easy road was structurally incapable of teaching. The golden needle. I want to give you an image, something to hold on to. Imagine a haystack, and inside it, buried somewhere in all that dry, ordinary interchangeable straw, there is a single golden needle. Brilliant, sharp, worth more than the haystack itself many times over. Now here is the question. How do you find it? Not by carefully sifting through the comfortable parts. Not by picking up the pieces of straw that look familiar, that feel safe, that you have handled before. You find it by going through the whole thing, by getting your hands in it, by being willing to dig into the parts you would have avoided if you had been given the choice. Rock bottom is the haystack. And somewhere inside the worst of it, inside the loss, the failure, the fear, the 3 a.m., there is something golden. Something that would never have been findable if everything had stayed comfortable. A clarity about who you are. A strength you did not know you had. A direction that only becomes visible once the noise of your old life has been stripped away. Most people who have been through it and come out the other side will tell you the same thing. Not immediately, not in the middle of it, but eventually, with the distance that only time provides, They will tell you that the worst thing that happened to them was also, in some strange and specific way, the most important thing. The thing that broke them open enough for something real to get in, that is the golden needle, and you are in the haystack right now. What to do with this moment? So what do you actually do with this? Because I want this to be more than a feeling. I want to give you something practical to carry into the next day, and the day after that. The first thing is this. Stop fighting where you are, not in a passive way, not in a giving up way, but in the sense of stop spending your energy on wishing the situation were different and start spending it on understanding what it is telling you, because it is telling you something. The loudest pain is almost always pointing at the most important thing. And if you can get quiet enough to listen, if you can sit in the discomfort without immediately trying to escape it, you will find that it has a direction. It is pointing somewhere, at something that needs to change, or something you have been avoiding, or something you care about so much that its absence has become unbearable. Follow that. Not recklessly, but follow it. The second thing is this. Reduce the timeline. When you are at rock bottom, the future looks impossible because you are trying to hold all of it at once. You are looking at the distance between where you are and where you want to be, and the distance is so large that the brain reads it as insurmountable. And so you do not start, because what is the point of starting something that impossible? But you are not being asked to cover all of that distance today. You are being asked to take one step. One real small specific step that is available to you today. Not the whole journey, not the final destination. The next step. Just that, and then the next one tomorrow. And the one after that the day after. Because journeys do not happen in leaps. They happen in steps. And the person who takes a step today and another tomorrow, and another the day after, they cover distance in a way that the person who waits for the perfect moment, the right energy, the return of hope, never does. The third thing, protect your narrative, not from the truth, but from the conclusion that this is the whole truth. The story of your life is not over. The chapter you are in is one chapter, and chapters end. Sometimes gradually, sometimes suddenly, sometimes in ways that you cannot predict from inside them, but they end. The story of rock bottom, told from the inside, ends in catastrophe, told from 10 years out, from the vantage point of people who carried that same weight and found their way through. It ends almost always differently. With gratitude, with perspective, with the recognition that the worst point was also, in some way, they would not trade for anything, a turning point. You cannot see that yet. You are not supposed to be able to. That view is not available from where you are standing, but it is there. It is real. And the only thing that stands between you and reaching it is the willingness to keep moving. The people who need to hear this most, I want to speak directly now. To the person who is furthest down, the one who has been thinking, somewhere in the back of their mind, that maybe there is no way back. That maybe this is just how it is now. You are wrong, not unkindly. Not carelessly, I say it with everything I have. You are wrong about that, because I know the feeling. The feeling of a door that will not open no matter how many times you try it. The feeling of running out of tries. The feeling that the gap between who you are and who you need to be is simply too large to cross. That feeling is not evidence. It is a symptom of exhaustion, of prolonged difficulty, of a mind that has been carrying too much for too long and has started to mistake its own fatigue for reality. The door is not locked forever. The gap is not impassable. The story has not been written. There are people in the world right now who are sitting where you are sitting, further down, some of them further gone, who are living lives today that they would not have been able to imagine from inside that darkness. Not because they were special, not because luck arrived and changed everything, but because they made the single most important decision available to them in that moment. They did not stop. That is it. That is the whole secret. Not a strategy, not a revelation, not a transformation, just the refusal to stop. One more day, one more attempt, one more small motion toward the light, even when the light seemed very far away and not entirely real. You can do that. Today. Right now. Not the whole journey. Not the full recovery. Not the life you want to be living. Just not today. Just not yet. Just one more. Here is what I want you to hold on to. The fact that you are feeling this, the weight, the fear, the exhaustion, the doubt, it does not mean the story is over. It means you are in a story. A hard one. A real one. The kind that, when it turns into something worth telling. You are not broken. You are in the process of being rebuilt. And the rebuilding is happening even now, in the parts you cannot see, in the shifts that are too gradual to feel from the inside but are real and cumulative and moving in a direction. Rock bottom is not a punishment. It is not evidence against you. It is a stripping away of everything that was not strong enough to hold you, so that what remains is the thing that is. And what remains is you, your actual self, your real resilience, your core beneath the comfort and the habit and the performance. That self is more than enough. It has always been more than enough. The golden needle is in there. Keep looking, and tomorrow, take one step, just one. That is enough for today.